We're live now.
Live.
Yeah, we're live. You can adjust your mic if you, well, like if you need to talk more directly into. Hear that second bar right there.
Oh, on the bottom. Yes, I see.
Slightly close. Bend it down.
Here. All right,
there we go. That's what I meant by adjust.
Right.
There we go. Now I can control both of our volumes, and we don't have to accidentally listen to you power the mic. It just happens several times. You do that. I'm gonna post that we're. Why didn't you do that?
Well, look. Anyway, hello.
Greetings. Welcome to Composer Talk.
Composer Talk. I was about to say that, but sure.
Why I normally say it, so I just
yeah, here we are again. In news this week, our big post award season for news is that the 2018 Guggenheim about, I believe, 10 composers for award time fellowships. I'm not gonna read all the names, but you can go look it up on the Guggenheim Fellowship website. Notable names: Du Yun is one of the awarded won Pulitzer Prize for opera Inc. up in the world. And yeah, there's about 10 composers. Like I said, not all, but go check them out. Probably watch them. So that's our big professional news.
It was more professional news, not awards.
Continuing on, last week we talked about 2 new stuff to watch, interesting adaptations. Like one of these works, Mark Anthony Coraline, an adaptation of the Neil Gaiman novel. In this past week, somewhat, coincidentally, we've had a little bit of drama in the opera world involving this particular work. Basically, this opera has gotten some bad reviews, and I don't know if the bad reviews are merited or not. I haven't seen the work, and it's not available anywhere for watching. It's just been premiered. But a Rupert Christensen, a critic of The Guardian.
I'll say I recognize the name. He does a lot of reviews.
Yeah. And I think he tends to specialize in operas. Go to his page on The Guardian, you can see. He gave Turnage's very negative review, and basically said that I've enjoyed Turnage's operas in the past, but I just don't think this one is successful. And the review was full of, you can go read it. It's full of caustic British wit, as some reviewers are wont to do, and that's kind of part of the review. So he posted this review. Another critic, whose name I can't recall off the top of my head, retweeted this review. You don't retweet, but essentially linked it in a Twitter post and said, this review is spot on. Agree with it. And then all hell broke loose. The composer, Mark Anthony Turnage, wrote a very passive-aggressive post in response to this, basically saying, well, I guess I've been found out. I must be an amateur, and I don't really know what I'm doing. Can
you say something about not writing opera again?
That was later. I'm getting to that. He
spoilers.
Well, and then this garnered some discussion on Twitter, but he made another post a little later, saying, well, you can have your way. I am through with writing operas. I'll leave it to my younger colleagues. and the critic who tweeted this replied to this and just kind of said a little bit jocularly, And I don't, you don't need to start running operas. I think what he said was maybe just a few cuts in the first act and a sprinkling of fairy dust on the orchestration would happen. And
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I know where you're going with this.
mm-hmm.
I think this. I think that the review I think is fine. I've gone through and I've read it.
I read the review. I mean, like I said, British caustic wit, but nothing like really disrespectful. Yeah.
No, like nothing terribly disrespectful. It's nothing that I haven't seen in a review before. It's not like he said, "Don't see this show; it will bleed your eyeballs out." It's not like he said something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He had, from what I can gather, I've read pretty fair points to make that he just didn't enjoy. And as a reviewer, that's perfectly within his rights. Does this contrast a lot of other reviewers? Yeah, but not 100%. Some reviewers have had the same reactions to it, though not all in one like this. What I honestly want to say is that I think this is the composer at fault here.
I completely agree.
Yeah, like, I mean, he shouldn't have taken it to Twitter. I mean, granted, the reviewer shouldn't have also been on Twitter for this, but I think that in general, I mean, I would honestly put all the blame on the composer, because he literally opened the door himself and said, "Look at me, I'm being passive aggressive," and then closed the door and is accusing people of knocking down his door.
And to me, the weird thing about this, like, I completely, I think the composer line here, I think that this, as an artist and as a composer, really isn't how you should be. If somebody gives you a negative review, the best thing to do is to learn from it if he's made valid criticism. If you think he's valid criticism. Really, the only time I think a composer should be responding to negative reviews is if he actually feels that the reviewer has misrepresented his piece in some way. And if he feels that the reviewer has misrepresented his work in a way that needs explanation and response, I think it's perfectly valid to go and contact the newspaper and say, "I'd like to write a response," or go on, your blog or whatever venue is best. And I appreciate this person taking the time to review my work. However, I believe it could have spread some misconceptions. I want to. That's valid. If you feel that the review is misrepresenting something important in a way that harms your people, in a way that is not just that you don't agree with, but is actually, and even then you have to tread carefully.
I'm of the opinion, like, I've actually had mostly positive reviews. I've had one bad review, but I'm not entirely certain it was bad. I think it was just a bad description piece. Yeah. It's the one about, like, the gaping maw. They called my One Piece.
See, to me that sounds good. I'm like, gaping
maw.
Well,
for that piece, especially. But,
right.
Like, if they had written that about, like, a string quartet or something I'd written, I'd be like, well, that's a bummer. But I mean, in general, responding to criticism, fine. But don't be a bitch.
and the thing that's, I mean, there's a Guardian article that's and we're not here to be like gossip spreaders, but I feel like this is an important thing to point out, because it's a very good reverse example of we as composers how we should be responding to this kind of. And the weird thing is that if you read the Guardian article, there's a lot of people in the opera world who are siding with the composer here and are being like, "Oh, it was disrespectful."
I think they're just doing that to pile on and to be like,
yeah,
"Oh, my fellow composer is in trouble. I'm going to help him."
And it's not.
I don't think they're actually having problems.
And honestly, I don't even agree with you that they Twitter. Like, I don't think Twitter's the greatest medium of sort, really. But if you're a reviewer and you have a Twitter, yeah, you're going to use your Twitter to advertise your review. Maybe to advertise other people's reviews. Say where you agree with that. Like, to me, that's just normal. And, like, as as a composer,
Yeah.
I'd like deal with it.
Yeah, that's my opinion too. I mean, but either way, so don't take to Twitter like certain world leaders whenever you have the slightest gripe with something. That is all I will say. All right. So new music being written. You want to take this first one?
Yeah. I'm gonna. There's a composer on my radar recently that a few recent performances, not premieres, but good second performances on a more public scale. That I think are kind of catapulting this composer, who's always been a respected composer. And they're interesting pieces. The first one, the composer's name Michael van der Aa. Van der Aa is his last name. It's a Dutch name from the Netherlands. And he recently had his violin concerto played by the Philadelphia Orchestra. I have not had a chance to listen to the entire piece, but I have heard excerpts of the work, and it sounds very promising. There's a lot of interesting stories going on, a lot of variety and interplay between violin and orchestra, and it's a work that probably later today I'm going to be checking out its entirety. Recommend it.
I just want to advertise this picture.
You can. That's the wrong. You can find this piece on YouTube. It's been posted by the record company, so it's legal and legit. And
Thank you, ASCAP YouTube agreement.
Yes. And it's not on Noxos for those of you that have it, but you can find it.
I mean, it might be on Noxos. It takes a while for that stuff.
Well, yeah, and I looked, and it might.
Like, even John Adams, it takes him like a year to get stuff on Noxos, and he's John Adams.
The other Michael van der Aa piece, I hope I'm pronouncing E-A-N space D-R-A-A. But the other piece that I want to bring your attention is an opera that he really had performed by the Dallas Opera. And I believe it was the second performance of the work. Like, the piece was written in 2013. And the opera's called The Sunken Garden. And it mingles, and it's a 3D opera. Like, it mingles stuff going on stage with film and scene. It brings in elements of popular music, combining it with traditional classical idiom. And so there's holograms. You go in wearing 3D glasses, and like I said, this is not a work that I've been able to listen to yet, or that anyone can, because it was just premiered about a month ago. So it'll probably be a while before broadcast or on TV.
You were right on the pronunciation.
Oh, good. But if you, I wanted to bring it to your attention because when it does come out on this is an opera to check out. I mean, the integration of visual and media is, I think, a growing field that a lot of composers are starting for. It's something that we don't see a lot of in opera. I mean, he's not the first to do it, but but he's kind of working on the cutting edge here. So it's something that I hope is successful.
I think it'll be fine. It's gonna be a slow road going ahead. Like,
it always is.
Well, I know, but this in particular is gonna be very slow. I mean, like, this is gonna be. I mean, I think by the time I have children that I am taking to the opera, it will be a thing that is a potential thing. But right now, it's going to be very, very spotted. I don't know. I think that's really good. I don't think it will catch on. Like, I know you're very hopeful that it will catch on fast, but I just don't think it will.
I mean, I don't. Honestly, I'm interested to interesting things happening in art, whether or not it catches on in the mainstream.
Oh, no, I am too. Just like, a lot of times, a lack of public support dooms an art, even if it's good art.
And I think there is. Opera companies are doing a lot now. We talked a little bit about this last week to try to draw in new audiences, and I think this is a good thing. Sometimes doing stuff like this can backfire on you a little bit because you're a kind of an art form that and you're like, we're gonna snazz it up with technology, and to some people, whether or not you do it successfully, it can kind of feel like a cop out.
Well, and I totally understand that.
And I don't say that to criticize this work. I'm saying it to bring out this perception that is sometimes a fair perception, because a lot of times traditional institutions don't do a good job of modernizing their presentation.
They don't,
So,
but
yeah.
again, part of me thinks I don't know. Either way, I'm happy for this. Like, it is a good thing. I think that this is a good, not really first step, because I mean this isn't the first, but
Yeah, no.
I think that the fact that it's receiving fairly good press on its second run, that's the thing to look for here.
Right.
Because sometimes it takes an opera 8, 10, 12 showings for people to be like, oh, this is actually a thing. The fact that it's getting good press on, and I did check it as the second performance here. Yeah, that's really good, and I'm actually excited to see this Mr. Van der Aa. I'm excited to see what he produces next, because now he's got a public platform, so now he's kind of got an excuse to do something he really wants. So let's see what that is. So a couple of local things. These are just things that we're participating in, so we're just advertising them because we're selfish. We both have pieces being premiered this weekend at an event called Composing Tomorrow here at the University of Oklahoma. We've got several things on the program. Sunday is mostly piano solos, but it features a string quartet by...
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a quick tidbit about it?
Talk about the quartet. So this is going to be Sunday at 8 o'clock. It's going to be live streamed on our channel, correct?
Yeah, I haven't posted the link yet. But...
And I'm having a piece for done. The piece is called For Dabbled Thing. And it's kind of the first step in a series of experiments I've been doing in composition regarding taking poetic form ideas and adapting them. So I've taken a short poetic Greek poetic form. That's simply a pattern of accented syllables. I've made a melody out of it, and I've shaped the entire piece from that melody and fragments. So it's kind of a
fragments.
Haha. It's kind of a different piece for me because it's more melodic and kind of lush than a lot of the stuff I've written in the past. And I'm really happy with it. So if you tune into the live stream Sunday at 8, that's something. And you tell us what you think. Zach is having...
Well, also on that program, though, the Sunday program also, took me a second to find the program, but we also have piano solos by Jordan Burdick, Christopher McLaughlin, Casey Sutherland, and Jake Parker Ho, and then there is a vocal piece featuring piano by Jordan Wimmer. So these are all University of Oklahoma composers, and yeah, Sunday just ended up being the piano day. I didn't do it on purpose. I promise. It just happened. And then Saturday, we've got a lineup. We're starting with a piano marimba cello piece, which I love that combination. I approve. I mean, I've done it before. It's wonderful. It's awesome. Like, I think that's probably the most versatile trio you can get without adding electric. Like, it's just so beautiful. You can't beat it. That's written by a colleague of ours, Nikki Anderson. And then next up is a different colleague of ours, Benjamin Crumwade. And that is a trio, Route 66, from his Claremore trio, for violin, cello, and piano, so just typical piano trio. It's actually a pretty good piece. It's got a lot of scalar runs. I hope you like scales. Yeah, it's very... It actually kind of reminds me of... and I think I mentioned this whenever we heard it, but it kind of reminds me of the... you know the moment in Mozart's opera during Amadeus, whenever the emperor says, "Too many notes, Mozart, too many notes"?
No, I don't. I've never seen Amadeus. I heard the opera.
You can't be...
I know I need to see Amadeus. My excuse
you
is that
can't be a graduate music student and not have seen that.
My excuse is that it's not historically accurate. Not necessarily.
Okay. Until you watch that, I'm not watching West Side Story.
I never asked you to watch West Side Story.
No, you told me to watch.
I did?
Yes.
I haven't watched West Side Story. Zach,
Well, there you go.
you're imagining things. I never told you to watch
Maybe it
West
was
Side
Peter.
Story.
Someone
it was
did.
Probably somebody else.
So, anyways, and then we have John Martinez with yet another piano solo. And then we have a colleague of ours writing for Reed Quintet, Eli Brion. Reed Quintet, for those that don't know, it's something not new, but I mean, it's relatively new to the chamber music scene, roughly the past 7 years-ish. And it features oboe, clarinet, typically alto sax. I've seen soprano sax used. I haven't seen tenor saxo, but I imagine that would work just as well. Bass clarinet and bassoon. So that's something new. Just also to plug that into your guys' ears because it's a good ensemble type.
And the 2017 Barlow Prize, which we're going to talk about, the 18 Barlow Prize in a minute, but that was the commission for that was for. So it's an up and coming ensemble.
And I recommend writing for it. I'm actually in the trenches right now trying to figure out the ensemble myself. I think it's wonderful. I recommend it. And then I have a piece to close out the concert called Cellular Data, featuring the New Century Improv Ensemble, which I'm in charge of. I just told them that they're doing it. The nice thing about being an ensemble director. No, I asked them. I didn't just tell them that they had to do it. But yeah, that is an experimental piece. Basically, we're shoving cell phones in the piano.
It's really I'm performing in it. It's very strange.
Don't give it away.
As much of you don't want to talk about the piece. I understand.
Yeah, because honestly, it's a good surprise.
You're gonna have to tune in. That program will be Saturday night at 6 o'clock. So Saturday at 6, Sunday at 8 will be live stream channel. Tune in.
And that's it for those. And then tonight we have another new music premiere here on campus, and it's actually my piece again. Yeah, you get to talk about me, my favorite thing. Just kidding. No, but the Sooner Bassooners, for those that don't know, it is a wonderful bassoon ensemble, and basically it's just a typical studio ensemble. Like, you have cello ensemble, you have double bass ensemble, you have the violin group, the flute choirs, and, well, there's bassoon ensembles, and someone called it Sooner Bassooners, because we're the Sooners, and everything's got to have Sooner in it. And I handed the director of that, our bassoon professor, a bassoon quartet. He decided he wanted to do it, not just with the quartet, but they're doing it with the full group. And it actually sounds really cool. The piece is called The Tinkerer, and it's a very cool kind of post-minimalist piece, but it sounds much more like Glass than Atoms, despite the fact that it sounds post-minimalist.
It's I haven't heard it played live yet, but I've looked at it. I think it's one of Zach's best pieces. And it's fun and sounds great. Yeah. Will that be live streamed?
It might be on their channel. I mean, I'm gonna have a recording of it regardless that I'll post on my website probably Thursday morning.
So check out Zach's website if you'd like to hear that, because we record all our concerts.
And you're not the only person to say that about. Like, seriously, 9 people now, including you, have told me that is one of my best, if not best pieces.
I think the music that you're writing now is my favorite of yours. The minimalist stuff and improv stuff, I think is like a need for you that you honestly like for, because it's cool.
Oh, it's fun.
I
like throwing things in the
I
piano.
think the same thing about your Nocturne piece, the Nocturne for Dice, which I think Zach talked about on here before. So yeah, that's if you look up, they might, like I said, they might be streaming it from their channel. If you look up Sooner on Facebook, a lot of people are just
because there's 2 Sooner Bassooners groups. There's the actual Sooner Bassooners group, and then the one that is currently operating is not Sooner Bassooners. It is OU Bassoon Studio, but it's basically the Sooner Bassooners because they all play in it. But this is my one non-experimental piece that's getting premiered lately, so that'll be fun.
Exciting stuff. Do us a favor and tune in.
Yeah, do both of us a solid. It'll be a good show. I'm looking forward to both of them. The only one that's going to be a little long, in my opinion, is the second one. It's just because it's so much solo piano.
At least it's.
You don't have to stage that one because you're having a piece performed.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just me and Angel.
Angel
it might just be Angel. Like, I might not even do it. I might because what I might do is actually have like just 2 kind of stages. Have the piano slightly to the left, and then have you about 2/3 to the right with your string quartet.
Right.
I might do something like that just because you're literally the only reason why we have stages.
Yeah.
But I might do that, might not. I'm toying with
Angel can probably do it. Well, I don't know why we're talking about this.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
But anyway,
this is the kind of stuff I discuss.
Zach, you want to talk about
Oh yeah, so National Student Electronic Music Event. That is for those who don't know, it's I think it just had its 8th iteration, is what it is, down in Denton, Texas. Basically, completely student-run, student-born, student-bred electronic music event for students, and it's run exclusively by students. It's pretty much just advised by a faculty member because you have to have a faculty member to rent the hall normally. Right. But so basically, we hosted it here a few years back, and we pass it on. It gets passed. It's been at a different location every year, and it has now been covered by mainstream news. And the Denton Now, which I mean, it's technically basically the school paper for them, but
are they doing it in Denton again this year?
No. This was in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I think you're getting confused because NSYNC was here this past year, and then in 2015 they had ICMC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've had 2 major electronic events since I've been here. But yeah, it was covered by the main newspaper there in Denton, and that's actually really good because this hasn't happened yet for this event, and that shows that it has legitimate motion. I mean, I've seen the motion on the inside. I see the numbers growing. I see the Facebook groups having more and more followers each year because each year has their own group because obviously different regime every time. But yeah, this is something that's really cool, and I'm actually kind of curious to see how long until there's actually an organization. Because right now there's no organization.
I don't recall you didn't go this year.
I did not. I wanted to, but I decided to give a lecture recital instead.
That's right. This was in March. Oh, this was around the time that.
Yeah. And I was recovering from a lecture recital, so I just didn't care.
But yeah, it's good for an event. I mean, that's how like we're talking about operas. There,
yeah,
the New York Times or whatever decides to report on it, and
yeah, and it's just one step. And and we've been covered here for Composing Tomorrow a couple times. It doesn't happen regularly though. It basically happens if there's nothing else newsworthy that week.
Yeah,
like I haven't been contacted this year, but I won't know until tomorrow if they're going to do a story on it because they always get a hold of me on Thursday for the Friday edition. Is what they do.
And well, I mean, it kind of makes sense that they're not going to report on every concert that happens at OU because
but I feel that new music concerts are particularly important.
We all do.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, I view it as the same as like whenever because they go do really hard press for like, oh, we're showing Thor Ragnarok a week earlier than it's going to be available for the rest of you. Got a special licensing deal. I mean, they advertise that.
Right.
I don't know, but. And I'm not saying that because I hate Thor Ragnarok. Wonderful
Ragnarok
movie.
Is amazing.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it yet.
The music's also great. It's just ridiculous. Like
the whole movie is ridiculous. Yeah. It's Guardians of the Galaxy done correctly. Oh, did I say that? Oh, I'm sorry.
You did say that out loud.
Oh man. I'm sorry. I can't take that back.
Stand by it, man.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So, and then we've got some music technology news. Also, it's just newsworthy. Going on. Avid has finally responded to Toriko with Sibelius Ultimate and Sibelius First. The easy one to identify is obviously the Sibelius First. That just follows the long list of other software that says First for basic and free, including their own Pro Tools. So you don't even have to do any research to figure out. But basically, I hate the fact that it does this, but I got my hopes up. I was like, okay, it's Finale Notepad done. I was disappointed. 4 staffs.
So why not just use?
That's kind of the point. But you do get the full suite of tools.
Right.
You're missing a couple of fine editing tools, but I'll put it this way: if you're gonna write for 4 parts or less, dude, you can use it. You can use Sibelius first. But if you're not gonna use Dorico, but that's my own
honestly,
but,
honestly, guys, I'm gonna come out with maybe an unpopular opinion. If it's fine.
No, it's okay.
And if you don't want to pay for notation software, I haven't used Sibelius first, but I can't. I mean, and I'm Sibelius. Yeah, it has a little more power than something like music, but
a lot of undergrads in particular don't need something more than MuseScore unless they're already decided I'm a composer.
I think there's kind of, and actually we're going to talk about this later.
Yeah.
But I think there's kind of a you have composers who are writing stuff that's non-complicated enough that it can be done with ease in a program like it's available for that's actually. Then you have the composers over here who are writing stuff that's so complicated that you really have to write it out by hand. Notation software, doesn't really work as well. You can
Dorico does.
Yeah, you can put it in notation software, but it's more like I'm gonna write it out and then I'm gonna figure out how to do that later in the program. Then there's this little space in here where you're writing stuff that's not so complicated that it needs to be out by hand, but is too complicated for something like music. And for 90%...
Or I'd say... I'd even say a larger project. Because, for instance, it's really hard to do movements. Because you pretty much just have to make a separate thing, then attach them together afterwards. Which is fine. But it has the problem of it's a lot of extra steps. I mean, honestly, I would say this. If you are if you're just someone experimenting with composition, just use all you need. In fact, I've given classes on MuseScore here because we have people that are non-majors that want to do it. I've done it twice now. Perfectly fine. But the second you want to do something more complicated, or you want to make kind of the commitment, so to say, of I'm a composer. At that point, you should buy software. It's actually not bad. It's $250, I think, for academic straight out.
It depends on the software, but something around $2.
Yeah. So I mean, but that point of investment, I would say most people shouldn't have to make until like their junior of undergrad. Would you say that's a good ballpark? Because you spend your first couple years basically writing really stupid stuff.
I know people.
Well, they're wrong.
But you say they're wrong. Well,
they're wrong.
And it depends on the kind of stuff you want to.
That too.
I don't regret having Sibelius. I've had Sibelius ever since I began my serious academic my freshman year of college, and even though I really hated a lot of the time, in the long and short, I mean, it served me pretty. It's annoying sometimes, but it gets the job done. Sometimes there's a few extra steps to make the job get done. But I mean, honestly,
D. Dorico.
And Zach, of course, but
it's brilliant.
I don't know. Let's save the rest of this discussion when we
for later
to talking more in detail.
By the way, so Ultimate. The problem I have with Ultimate is they did add some stuff, but they also plucked some features out of regular Sibelius to kind of coax people into getting Ultimate. It's not that much more expensive. It's an extra like $2-3. That's within most people's budgets. But the problem is they literally took a couple features. Like, I don't remember the features right now because this was about 4 or 5 days ago that I looked at this. But I literally was looking at it and I'm like, I think I have that in my software. So I turned off my internet connection, opened Sibelius on my laptop, and then lo and behold, I had that. But now, if I turn on the internet on my laptop, I'm going to lose that feature if I open Sibelius. Because it's now an Ultimate feature.
Right.
Which I think is so stupid. Now, yes, I did check. Within the terms and conditions, they're perfectly legitimized to do that within reason. And it's stuff that isn't critical, but it's stuff that I have used. So, either way.
It's legal and legit, but I honestly consider it ethical.
That's without doubt.
And some of us, I mean, for those of us who are lucky enough to have purchased the lifetime, license of Sibelius, we can turn off the Wi-Fi and use it as it was as we bought it. But
you're still on 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
Then
it doesn't.
you're-
It doesn't even.
Yeah,
apply
you
to
can you can be on anything. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, but
Because if you upgrade to 8, that's the people that lost
Yeah.
a feat.
and but yeah, it's
Mhm.
and Avid. We've talked about Avid having issues. Or this is just another.
Now,
thing
I will
down
say
the
this.
line.
Do you think that this is a direct reaction to Torco?
I mean, there's no way to. It's but I
There's
can't-
almost no way it isn't.
I can't imagine that it's not at least a actor in there at least.
Would say it's at least
It's-
50%.
It's also I think it's also putting Alias in line with the system they have for Pro, because for Pro Tools they have first, regular, and Ultimate. And like Pro Tools Ultimate, it's not just. It's like, from what I understand, it's like the full like industry. You know, if you're a professional recording engineer, you know, your company probably.
I'll
has
give you a
this.
hint. We only have
Mhm.
Pro Tools HD in the studio. That's
Right.
cool. We don't have it anymore. else.
Right. And
The biggest thing is greater than quad. If you're doing anything more than quad, you need Pro Tools Ultimate HD.
right, if you want to mix 5.1 or and so for most of us, not really necessary unless you want to go out. But I think part of it is getting into line with their. But I can't imagine that the Dorico thing wasn't an actor.
I think
You
it
have
was
to
a huge
step
factor.
Step up to the competition.
Because they've gone almost a year without doing anything for Sibelius.
Mhm.
Like, not even a, hey, we're working on stuff. Honestly, they didn't even work on stuff. They just turned a few switches. All they did. Like, this probably took someone a couple days worth of work to release these new versions. Like, I'm being realistic. As someone who does code a lot, a lot of what they did is just turning a knob. I mean, there's not a physical knob, you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. So, that does worry me a bit, but I am happy that they are finally reacting, and I hope it will spur some competition. I hope that it will, because I think Dorico has the fire under them, and, you know, they've had the fire in them since the beginning, and I don't see it going out anytime soon. If anything, this is just going to make Dorico give us even more amazing. Like, we've got everything now. What else can they give us?
Yeah, this is how capitalism works, guys. That's how it's supposed to work. So yay for capitalism working like it's supposed to.
Yeah. Boo for ultimate stealing from regular. Okay, so, and then the last bit, so there's a couple neat opportunities that I want to mention. And I'm doing this partially just because I'm a good human, and partially because I'm selfish, and I kind of want to do this for my SCI student. But SCI has 2 opportunities for anybody that's a member of that, or looking to be a member. The CD series and the journal music scores. Anybody that is an SCI member can enter. You can enter.
Yeah.
And the CD series is cool because, first of all, not many people do it. Second of all you gotta do is pay per minute of music that you submit that gets accepted. So, if you submit, let's say, a 5-minute piece, you pay for your 5 minutes. You don't pay a dime of anyone else. So that's part of what's nice.
You also need a good recording, because, to my knowledge, they don't record the piece for you. Submit a recording.
No, you're paying $90 for mastering. No. Have a good recording.
Right. That's what I was saying.
Sorry, my brain flipped. It's okay though. My brain's back. And then so the journal music score is kind of the same concept, except literally no strings attached, no prices, no anything.
And you can submit at any time to them.
Yep, through May 31st. It is the deadline. So be sure to do that. It's a wonderful thing. I like browsing the journal music scores. It gives me some cool ideas on notation, cool ideas on instrumentation, and it's cool also just to see what other people are doing. Yeah, SCI is only about 1,000 or so active people, but I mean that's still enough to get a good perusal. So keep that stuff in mind. And then I'm gonna skip that one, come back to it in a second. Fora della Guara. I think I said that right. I probably didn't. I probably butchered it.
You didn't roll.
But there you go. Don't criticize me. All right.
I was just telling you the truth, man.
Oh, okay.
You pronounced it correctly, except for the R's.
Okay, so Ensemble Nove Musique. I don't know which one. So basically, this is something that a buddy of mine turned me on to because he ended up winning it, and he said, "Yeah, it was a good experience. Cool, sweet." So basically, they're doing an international music festival, and you can just send music, and if it gets accepted, they'll play it and send you a recording, and it will be part of a festival of other composers. So you'll receive a lot of local press too in this area. So that's something that, and this is something that isn't being as well advertised as it should.
What is the deadline for?
Soon. Let me double check. I think it's. Oh no, he just sent this to me. I'm gonna look for this while you chat about the Barlow Prize.
Barlow Prize. Putting that aside for a moment, we talked about the Barlow Prize earlier. Mentioned that prize last year. The Barlow Prize is a competition run by Brigham Young. Every year they choose.
April 15th. You have 4 days. Go. All right, go.
12 p.m. April.
Oh, and I'm pretty sure that is Spanish time.
Italian. Yeah.
Italian
Time zones are a thing. I was recently on a credit card payment. Make sure you.
Where are your credit cards from?
I was 15 minutes late because it was before.
Why were you paying your credit card 30 minutes before it was due?
Because it's on time if it's. This is not relevant.
Sorry. It does. All right, continue. Barlow Prize.
Barlow Prize. Yeah, every year they choose an ensemble that will be the topic of a commission awarded to the who prize, and you pay a small application fee to submit and then the winner is commissioned to write a piece. Last year, like we said, that won by Stacey Europe as we months ago. This year, the ensemble that is the SATV choir. So if you have choir pieces that you've written, I mean, you can submit any application, but they obviously want to evidence that you write for voice. The commission they'll pay you a $12,000 commission. So it's just pretty big deal. And I can't remember what the application is, and are gonna pull up the.
I'm looking.
The deadline here in a second.
Oh, here we go. There's a small cost. I think it's like $15.
Yeah, it's
not
can't find showing the deadline on.
Yeah, it's June 1st.
June 1st.
Okay. Yeah, it's been in like 2 places, man.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, keep up. This is a very
it's a big one too.
Submit to it if you feel like you have music that review well. I will probably submit. And yeah.
I don't want to submit because then I'm gonna get bugged for that choral piece that I owe. I just can't.
See, my worry about submitting, I have one choral piece. Like, I would want to. I don't have a good recording of it. So yeah, that's something. Anyway, moving on. That's about all we have for news this week. One thing
Busy news week.
Yes.
Yeah, lots going.
I wanted to discuss that gets back to what we were talking about. Is about notation software.
I should have had a better segment. Should have flipped.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Planning is for the week.
Yeah, it is for the week.
Notation.
You're saying that now.
We're adopting each other's phrases now. This is getting kind of creepy.
So proud of you.
What I wanted to talk about is notation software.
Yes.
Is notation software a help for composers, or does it actually hinder us in writing effectively? Zach, you have the floor. I know what you're gonna say.
I think it depends on the song.
Okay.
So because, for instance, writing, like, if I just want to, like, I'm just gonna take my piece free. That is open. has no bar, no meter, but I composed it in Sibelius. How do I do that in Sibelius?
If nobody, for those of you who have never tried to do this, you go and create a bar of, I think the maximum is like 128.4. You can't do 128.1. Then you go to panorama view, because if you're not in panorama view, it'll try to smush. And then you write it there, and then if you don't want it to have bar lines at all, as you rebar it. You bar it in some kind of quasi-logical way, and then you make all the bar lines.
That's how you do it, and it is it's a pain, but
possible, but annoying.
On the flip side of that, I'm just gonna say this: all hail Dorico. The default is meterless. You open a new score, you're composing an open meter, because, I mean, that makes sense. There shouldn't be a meter unless you need there to be. Why should you have to have a meter if there is no meter? Because even on Sibelius, if you leave the meter box empty, it's in 4/4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's actually the way it's beamed, I think it's technically 2, if I recall correct. Because it's beamed.
Another thing about Sibelius, you can change the default beaming.
Yeah, you can, but like, because like, I think it is I think they want it to be 4/4, but the beaming is 2/2.
Some people beam 4. Not the way you or I were taught to do it, but some people just. But I mean,
I still was doing that because I was doing it my way.
And sometimes it actually looks a little better depending on the kind of thing you're. If you're writing,
it's a stylistic thing.
Yeah, if you're writing a lot of 8th note runs, or if it's like jazz or something, honestly, it looks. But
well, it's also because in jazz you be conducting. Yeah, that's why.
Anyway,
stop that. All right, so those are two. I mean, so that's something that I think that shows the example of it. Really depends what you're doing and what software you're using. Because like in Sibelius, it's very harmful to write an open meter. So you're better off just writing it by hand and scanning it in.
Well, I don't scanning it in. If you have
it's just a standard PDF. I don't mean into Sibelius.
Right.
Yeah.
And I haven't used Dorico, so you correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Well, you should use Dorico.
But there's even more to it than just writing out either that notation software. I lecture by a composer, Klosky. I've mentioned him on recently. He teaches at the Frost School of Music at the Miami. And he talked about how it's not just meter that notation software. It makes you synchronize, or it doesn't make you, but kind of forces you to say that synchronizes different parts in a tradition. McCloskey writes a lot of music. That's the kind of stuff we mentioned on here a couple weeks ago when we were talking about different to write choral stuff, where you don't necessarily have meter or even like an 8th note, quarter note succession that all lines. You might have people at different tempos at the same time. Staggered entrances that don't necessarily all line up in a way that kind of meld together more organically. And as a composer, I mean, to do that, you have to build in safeguards for making sure it sounds good even if it's off. Things. That's something. And like I said, I don't know if you do this in Dorico.
I'm about to show you.
And I believe Zach is up on this.
Well, I'm about to. So this is something this is kind of the progress. So I think at some point, it will be more efficient to write in software no matter what. This is kind of the evidence of it. So I've got here just standard score. I'm going to go into write mode. So I'm just going to give myself a G. Okay, I have a G. Cool. Now let's just put that down here. And now let's just say I've got a run of notes. Okay, so now let's actually take that and put it here. And this is the example that I'm going to give. Oh, they're synchronized. How in Sibelius would you fix this? Want to see how easy it is?
not really what I meant.
Oh, that's not what you mean?
writing two parts in different tempos.
Oh, like that. Okay. Well, the different tempos you can.
Dorico?
Yeah, you have to use different flows for that. That's more complex. I thought you meant like this, like just throwing it out of sync.
Oh no, like that's. I mean, it doesn't. There's not that easy. That can be done in Sibelius.
Okay, I understand what you're asking about now. You can using what's called the flow system. That's complicated though, and I don't want to get into that.
It's essentially it's
there's a workaround for it.
Essentially, it's kind of like writing without bar lines.
Honestly,
you can do it, but
no, give them a few months. Honestly, like because they're out of the mainline features that they were missing, so now they're at the innovation stage.
Right. There's obviously room to build that.
Yeah. So I think that they will. I mean.
So yeah. Fortunately, software like Dorico is starting to make this step that'll make it easier to do. Now, I want to kind of go in a little bit of I've started writing things out by hand. I do put them in Sibelius for editing purposes and for sending to people purposes. But I will write it out by hand. I'll put it into the software. I may make some revisions. I do my editing and there it is. I've found personally that I'm actually considerably more creative when I work with pencil and paper. I am able to work for longer and keep focus. And I simply feel the music flowing easier for me. And I think there's something to the idea of writing by hand that's not simply a practical. But what are you?
I'm showing an example of something that practically.
Right.
Yeah, this is an example by. This is basically just system. You just pick which system you're part of. You put it like that. You cannot possibly do that in notation. It's even hard to do digitally in general.
Right.
I mean, you do have a point. Like, there's some things that you can't do stuff like this in software.
But I'm saying even for normal, like if I'm going to write a perfectly. To me, I think there's something about writing at a computer that to a degree kind of alienates you from the writing process. When you sit down with pencil and your paper and write the piece, there's really nothing in the medium, which is half and general. When you write on a computer, there's an extra layer that separates you from the medium. There's a screen that mediates between you and the real medium, paper, so to speak, that you're writing on. And I think this does affect the way you think. I mean, there have been studies done that show that people they think differently, right? And I'm not going to say that everyone's going to be creative when they work on pencil and paper. Obviously, we all work. Zach works in technology.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of his thing. But
not everybody does. Yeah, I
think that honestly, my suggestion is if you haven't worked on pencil and paper, if you've really worked in notation software your entire life, I would suggest trying it. And if you've tried it before and it really didn't work for you, try it again. Because when I was just started out as a composer, I tried doing the pencil and I was like, I don't like this. Now that I have a little more experience, I'm finding it freeing and beneficial. So particularly if you haven't tried it before, or if you maybe you tried it, maybe you're a grad student or whatever, and you tried it in undergrad, or started out writing by hand and then switched to software. I'd recommend giving it. I had a conversation with my teacher and Zach's teacher, Dr. Lamb, about this, and he said basically, so it's something that everybody has to figure out what works right for them. But I would say don't get don't put yourself into a corner where you feel like you have to do it one way. And
I would agree to that. I mean, the real danger here, though, is, and I am paying attention. I'm just multitasking. I was getting a file loaded. The danger is saying it's a coverall, because, like, for me, for instance, I'm very tech oriented. So, I mean, if I'm sitting there just jamming out my dissertation, I'm probably gonna do most of my dissertation at the computer, because I already know it's likely gonna be in symphony with some electronic elements. And even without the electronic elements, most of what I'm going to be writing for a symphony orchestra, I can do very easily in software. In fact, I can do it faster than on paper.
And if you're conceiving something orchestrally, I definitely see your point. Much easier to write for orchestra when you have everything in front of you, if it's conceived, than it is to get
now. But what I will do is I'll probably spend most of September, October, with just I'll probably have a fresh sketchbook just for my dissertation, and I'll probably use that for the sketches, because I always sketch on paper, just because I don't really know why I do it. It's just a habit that I have now, but I feel it's good because that way I have kind of like a record of mine. But if I know I'm writing something like, my experimental sonata piece, I mean, that's something that I'm probably not going to do in software ever. In fact, it's still handwritten. I'm probably never going to digitize it.
It just doesn't really work.
It doesn't.
Yeah, and I think me the process of conceiving a piece on paper and then transitioning it to software, that feels right to me. And I mean, that's kind of what you're talking about. You might you make the change to software earlier stage in the after sketching,
early, yeah.
Right? Rather than after writing
basically
it out.
once I have my melodic ideas and any important gestures that I want, at that point I move to the score, because from there it's just standard composition process. Oh, I'm gonna transpose this, I'm gonna invert this, I'm gonna do that. And that's stuff that, especially with my hotkeys, I mean, you see how many keypads I've got lying around. I mean, it's so fast for me just to orchestrate something just like that.
And if it's already in your head, then it
which
is
for me
faster.
it is, because I actually think I'm backwards. I think orchestrally, and I often have to condense for things like my
right.
And that's part of my problem.
Yeah.
So
well, you've heard both of our experiences with this. Send us your take. Do you feel like notation software is helpful? And paper, or do you
do you know anybody that composes with Quill?
I kind of want to now. or do you have another method? I recently talked to a composer who sequences all of her music MIDI and then
no, I'm actually 100% against that. No.
Music's good.
No, I am against that for a lot of reasons. No. That's elaborate transcription. It's elaborate transcription. That's all that is.
How is that elaborate transcription? You come up with the music.
That's a different argument for a different day.
Maybe we can talk about this next time. I didn't expect you to like the idea, but I didn't expect you to react to it.
Yeah. Okay.
But
anyways.
I do know composers who do this. So if you do have a different method, and don't be afraid to tell Zach that you put music into MIDI. I'll defend you from him. So
I'm not violent. I'm not gonna hit.
I'll defend you from your
Jacob.
verbal approbation.
Okay. Okay. There we go.
It's an interesting thing to talk about, and yeah, we might get to that next time, because I think there's more to talk about on this.
I think there is, but yeah, in general, and also let us know what you guys are liking of the new format, where we're focusing a bit more on unique news, because this is actually all stuff that we farmed out ourselves for the most part. There's a couple things that
kind of.
It was 50-50.
I did it make up the Guggenheim thing.
No, I know that. I mean, you know what I meant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, obviously stuff like that you don't invent, but like we farmed it out ourselves. We didn't rely on something else. So anyways, let us know what you think of that. Let us know what you think of the notation thing. Let us know about the other stuff too. And let us know if you're entering any of these opportunities that we mentioned.
And if you win, especially let us know.
Yeah, if you win, let us know.
We'll be mad at you. I'm just kidding.
I won't be mad. One less thing for me to do this summer.
But anyway, send us your hate mail. We appreciate
Peace out.
it. See you later.
Oh yeah, Composer Talk, whatever we